Hey guys, welcome to Forage Box TV. My name's Jim. Just out here in the gorgeous Lake District at the moment. It's nice and early, 6:30 in the morning, nice early start. Sorry, I never know how to start these videos off. I don't know whether I should be all kids TV presenter. Hi kids, welcome to Forage Box TV. Or whether I should go a bit more Monty Don. Hello and welcome to Forage Box TV. But anyway, this is the start of the video. Today we're going to be doing some foraging for a few wild greens, most importantly for Bistort, which is a nice spring green. Very versatile, can be eaten raw, can be put in a salad, that sort of thing, but we'll go into that a bit later. At the moment we're just going for a bit of a hike up to a tarn where we're going to do some cooking. We'll cook over an open fire, responsibly of course. Going to make a nice hot lunch, going for a traditional Cumbrian, Lancashire, northwest England dish called Easter ledge pudding, or a variety of, which is essentially it's essentially black pudding without all the blood, made with oats. It's very, very simple. It won't be long, I think, before it appears on a few artisan restaurant menus. It's well overdue a revival. Yeah, gonna crack on with this walk. Before we get started, guys, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out with making these videos in the future. And then, if you're interested in the products that I'm going to be looking at today, there's no obligation to buy. Obviously, this isn't an advert. This is just me getting out and trying to reconnect with nature after being trapped in for so long. But you can head to our shop. There's a few bits and bobs there to buy. Again, no pressure. It's our subscription service, really, the Forage Box subscription service, that if there's anything to flog, where you get access to 5 lovely wild ingredients each month. But again, more on that at the end of the video. I'll give a little discount code out at the end of the video as well, for those who've managed to watch the whole length of it. I don't know if that's going to be many of you, but yeah, hopefully it'll be worthwhile. Hey guys, just walking down a little country lane, and I found a wild plant that a lot of people, there's some debate as to whether it's edible or not. I've eaten it several times and with no ill effects. I'm just going to spin the camera around. This is horsetail, so it looks a bit like a sort of asparagus, I guess. It grows in these big tufty clusters, a bit like asparagus. I'll chuck a couple of these in our dish today. A bit like asparagus. They might just be past their best at this stage, but I don't mind. In they go. So also featuring in May's Forage Box, but also in many a hedgerow near you, is this wonderful plant here. Now this is called garlic mustard, Jack by the hedge, Jack in the hedge, hedge garlic. It's got lots of names. It actually isn't a mustard or a garlic. It's actually part of the Brassica family. you'll find it absolutely everywhere. It grows quite happily in hedgerows like this. It's just a bit of a scruffy hedgerow. And it has the most remarkable garlic mustard smell. So you obviously can't smell it, but that smells very garlicky and mustardy. Now I've disturbed it, now I've broken down all the fibres. That's where that smell comes from. On its own, it doesn't have a smell, unlike wild garlic. But we're actually going to chuck a few of these bits in, just collecting the tops. Don't really want to take too much of this. It is quite a powerful smell. And you can see I've taken the top leaves only. See, there are just some flower heads starting to appear there. I'm not sure if that's in focus. Just starting to appear. That'll probably be enough for me today. At this stage of growth, when it's lovely and green, it's got a very pleasant garlic, as I say, garlic and mustard flavour. Bit of mustard to start with, followed by the long garlicky finish. Later on in the year, when it gets a bit leggy, or right at the start of the season when you're when it's in its youngest growth, it tastes a bit like it still tastes garlicky and mustardy, but it's got a bit of a paracetamol backbone to it. And essentially, for the ID, at this stage, you're looking for this. Oh, that's not a good background. You're looking for this heart-shaped leaf. It's got a very distinct heart shape to it. I mean, a slug or something's had a little nibble there, but you can see how this would be heart-shaped. In its young form, it actually has kidney shapes. It hasn't really got. We haven't got a kidney-shaped leaf down here. Maybe a few from the start of the season, look. But a kidney would turn into a heart shape. That's a better example right there, Jimbo. There you go. Lovely heart shape. And yep, garlicky and mustardy. Very nice. In the same way that if you ate a raw clove of garlic or a big spoonful of mustard, whew, you'll feel it in your nose and in your eyes. But wow, yeah, that'll be very nice in things like, well, you can put it in a sandwich, I guess. It'll be very nice in things maybe a bit more like roasts, roasted veg, that kind of thing. Despite what anyone says, you can never really avoid getting stung by nettles when you're picking them. Just have to get over it. Just thought it'd be worthwhile doing a quick look at dock leaves. Now, most people know what dock leaves are. If you come down to the ground with me here, we have it. Well, a great swathe of it, really. This is dock here. Now, the reason I'm showing you this today is, it is edible. It's perfectly fine. The reason I'm showing you is because of the difference between this and Bistort is they're slightly more subtle than the usual distinctions. So, if I spin you around again, you can see it's got these red speckles all over, and that's that typical rustiness, that dirty sort of look to it. I mean, you wouldn't want to eat it at this stage anyway, but that dirty look to it is very distinct. Bistort doesn't really get to that. The red flecks that appear on the leaves and the stem is a dead giveaway for dock. Also, dock tends to appear. You see how this is all growing from the same, plant, basically, all from the same little patch. It is a bit frosty still, so just ignore all the white bits on there. Slightly newer growth there. You can see when we look at Bistort later, it is fairly similar, so it's very important to look at the plant in all of its growing stages, and this is it. You will find dock throughout the year, nestled, well, any waste ground, any grass really. Dock really can take over, and dock, although it's edible, whoa, is a bit bitter. It tastes like, were you to imagine what a leaf would taste like, dock would be it. Now, I have made things with dock stems before. If you cook them up with a bit of sugar, they're a bit like rhubarb. slightly more subtle flavour than rhubarb, not quite as sharp. And there's a sort of not waxy, like a sliminess to the leaves when they get a bit older in the stems, which is actually quite pleasant. I think what we'll do is we'll take a few of these little dock leaves now. Oh, they are a bit tough. A couple of these dock leaves. Maybe that one just at the back there as well. So when we have a look at Bistort later, we'll be able to see just what the difference is. But also we'll be able to cook with it. We'll chuck it into our handy bag. Just worth another quick look at this plant here. I mentioned it in the wild garlic stir fry video, which I'll put a link to somewhere around here maybe, or somewhere over there, who knows. There'll be a link to it with our previous video. This plant here is called Lords and Ladies. Now I'm not going to handle it too much. The reason I'm pointing this out is because it is growing in and amongst all the other lovely lush vegetation. Wild garlic, dock leaves, sorrel, Bistort. There's all sorts of things you could easily muddle this up for if you weren't paying attention. At this time of year, when we're in sort of just at the start of May, late April, I mean it has been a cold year, but around early spring, starts producing these shoots here, which are the flowers. They look a bit tropical when they're in full bloom, but at the moment when they're doing this, is actually these spikes are a dead giveaway. So this plant is definitely one worth avoiding. Poisonous, or certainly toxic, and makes your mouth swell up, your throat will swell up. It's a really nasty experience, from what I've been told, because I've always been very careful. Right, let's go and find some Bistort. Well, I wasn't expecting to find this plant here today. So this plant, just on the other side of the fence, is called Lady's Smock. Now, I'm sure we can just take one little, how about that one there? One little plant. And if I hold it up to the sky, you can see the fronds of the stem. You can see those lovely pinky purple flowers. If I spin you around, just a little nibble on that. Oh! And maybe a cheeky flower. Wild wasabi. Very, very nice. Whoa! Wild wasabi. Okay guys, so here we have Bistort. Lovely, lovely Bistort growing all up here. You can see it's taken over a grassy verge. It likes a good grassy bank, side of a road, that sort of thing. It is a perennial, so it'll be here all the time. Does look a little bit like dock, but dock produces these tufts, little clusters of plants, whereas this is very much taken over. I'm not sure if it's all one plant, but it does produce a big network of roots, so there's a high chance. So what we're looking at here, we are looking at something very similar to dock in its shape and stature. I don't know if the light really does it any justice here, but it's a lovely glossy deep sort of rich green, rather than sort of the slightly unappetizing looking dock leaves, which are a bit paler. It's got that gorgeous, you definitely can't see that on the camera there. It's got a gorgeous white central stem there, central vein, sorry, running right at the middle. No discernible red marks like dock has. I think if you get right to the root, there might be, yeah, so you start having a red tip there at the end, but that's not like dock leaves where it's all speckled up the plant leaf there. It's called snake root, or it's also called snake root, sorry, because of its root network, which takes over, and it apparently looks a bit like snakes. I've never dug up the roots because, you know, digging up the roots means that the plant doesn't really have much chance of surviving, and it's a very, well, it's not a rare plant, but it's a plant that is basically locally abundant, but fairly uncommon outside of the northwest, which is where we are today. I mean, don't worry, there are, you know, lots and lots of places around here with Bistort growing. This is not something that's threatened up here. There you go, that's a nice looking patch there. So you see these lovely small succulent leaves, that's what we're after. Even if it's slightly unfurled like that, that just means it's nice and young. I want to do as little damage to the environment that we're picking these as possible, and you can see I'm going along and I'm picking a little bit from here and there, which means that not only is it visually more appealing, you know, I'm not destroying a beautiful grassy bank, but it also means that the plants have a fighting chance, and it's not just stripping a site, which is something that Forage Box definitely does not encourage. Make sure you leave way more than enough for the plant to regenerate. There's already enough plant destruction in this world, and we don't need to contribute to that. So this is a no waste product when you pick it like this, which is exactly what we do when we do our own picking. Okay, so you can see we're starting to get a little bit of a bunch now. I would say we need... No, do you know what that might actually do? So just starting to climb now. Heading up into these lovely old woods here. I don't think it's ancient woodland, but it's lots of lovely beech. We're now somewhere where there's very little growing on the floor. I mean, we might get mushrooms here later on in the year, but not now. But it's all, this is what forestry works do to the ground. There's no greenery on the floor. There's a bit of moss, but there are no nettles, not even dandelions, nothing like that. So just shows how precious wilderness can be, and the wild patches. Yeah, so we're going to keep going up this path, just goes up here, and yeah, we'll hopefully get to our tarn soon, do a bit of cooking. Woo. Hey guys, just arrived at the tarn. Absolutely beautiful day, beautiful blue sky, and yeah, nobody around at all. However, there are signs that people have been here, and just arriving at the site, I mean, there's quite a few patches like this. You can see this scar on the floor. There's lots of signs of that sort of thing, but if I just take a step over here, we've got an even more slightly permanent setup. I mean, I think people have watched too many cartoons to think that that's how you do, or how you leave a fire. It's a nice safe way of stopping it burning all the brash that's around, but that's not how to leave it. So anyway, so for our fire today, so that we're not contributing to further damage to the floor, we're going to use this pit that's existing, but then afterwards we're going to leave it so there'll be no trace. You know, leave no trace, guys, otherwise this sort of thing isn't possible. If you leave scars, people will shut down places like this, they'll not let you come here and wild camp, and wild camping is already a bit of a hot topic because people who don't know how to do it give it a go, do it wrong, chop down live trees, camp where they shouldn't be, leave all their gear or rubbish lying around, you know, not clearing up their you know, toilet, all that sort of thing. And it makes me a bit sad because this place is a special place in the country to me anyway, but it's been looked after by rangers and park services and things like that, but they'll soon just give up and just ban any wild camping, and that'll be a real shame because the vast majority of people who do it, who leave no trace, whether that's wild camping up on top of the fells or coming and doing what you might classify as bushcraft and things like this, it's all the same rules. Leave no trace, don't damage anything permanently, you know, leave it in a better state than you found it. There's actually not too much rubbish here, but if there was, I'd be taking it away with me. But anyway, so that's the preachy bit over. Right, time to get the get cooking on gas. So I think the first thing to do is to have a quick look at the ingredients that we picked up today. You'll have seen some footage of me picking bits and bobs from the hedgerows. So I'm just going to go through what we've got for our meal. So we've got our nice big pile of Bistort here. This is everything that we picked in the video. I haven't picked anything in addition. Bit of dock leaf there. I'll get onto the stuff I brought with me. Got some nettle tops there. This is the garlic mustard, that lovely, well, garlicky and mustardy flavour. Got some of that vetch, which is a bit like like pea shoots, I guess, is the closest it would resemble. It tastes like peas. I'm actually going to use that as a garnish rather than anything else. Ground elder, which is, I mean, you can't really tell from it's wilted a little bit since I got it out, but it's a bit like parsley, a bit like celery in the stem. I really like the stem. The stem is a very good thing to stick in a Bloody Mary, a wild Bloody Mary. Nice and simple here, you'll have seen this. These are wild garlic buds, so the flower buds, they haven't come out. There's a lovely intense garlicky flavour in those. I'm going to chuck those into the mix. Tiny little bit of common sorrel. Now common sorrel does have the same, that's a very good example, does have the same little rabbity ears that you can see there, so it's really important, sorry, the same little rabbity ears that you will have seen on the video earlier with lords and ladies, so it's really important, hang on, let's get in focus, really important that you ID this correctly. Along here we've got the horsetail that we looked at before, maybe not such a floppy one, there we go, this lovely horsetail. I'm going to peel these little fibrous bits off the side and chuck those into the mix. Some dandelion leaves just for a bit of bitterness, and then over here we've got, oh, and sorry, in the middle we've got some hawthorn leaves, just because I quite like the bite that they add to the, you know, they're a nice easy green to identify and pick and very nourishing. Over here I've just brought a simple white onion. This thing here, this is called Alexander's seeds. Now Alexander's seeds are not in season at the moment, but these were picked last year, dried, and these have been partly blitzed, I guess, partly passed through a spice grinder. This is also going out in May's box, incidentally, with the Bistort, so you will get a pack of this should you sign up. That's the last bit of sale, don't worry. And then over here, those who, I think it was in April's box, this is common hogweed salt, though. This is a bit like a wild celery salt. The seeds have been ground up and chucked into that celery mix, so I figured instead of using normal shop-bought seasoning, I would bring some forage seasoning, so salt and pepper there, nice and simple. That's a bit of grated parmesan to chuck on the end, and then if I just move this out the way, that's a muslin, I'll explain that in a second. Don't worry, it's not yoghurt. But inside we've got some pearl barley. Now pearl barley is very easy to get hold of at the supermarket. It's the sort of thing that people buy a packet of and leave in the back of the cupboard. basically not getting used. So hopefully this is the sort of thing that you'll be able to, that will inspire you to use it. It's been soaking in that water there for the last, I would say the last 18 hours, but essentially you have to just soak it for a day. 12 hours would do. Alternatively, you can boil it for an extra while, but because we're cooking on a fire, I thought I would soak it in advance. So that's our little setup. And over here, I've got my cast iron pot, which was the weighty thing in my bag. You can see just how lovely and clear that water is. There's a bit of dust in it from the fire, but other than that, it's absolutely pristine, fresh spring water from this tarn. I will boil it for 2 minutes to kill off any bugs, but obviously it's going to be cooking our food, so the water will be absolutely tip-top, perfectly safe to eat and drink with. That will go on our fire. Right, I think it's time for a recipe. I've got my pearl barley there, it's all strained off. This was 200 grams before I put it into the water. I don't know what it is now. That's going to be a big portion. I don't know if I managed to finish it all, but essentially whatever you think you can stomach, whatever you can fit in there. We're going to add everything into this pot. That's probably the easiest way. Give it a good old stir. So one of the things that we're obviously focusing on today is Bistort, but I thought I'd just start by roughly tearing up the ground elder. In that goes. Nice big juicy ground elder. I picked from lovely clean places, so I didn't need to worry about I don't need to worry about washing it, and everything that I've got here is nice and clean as well. Bit of hawthorn, because why not? Oh, I can already smell that ground elder. In goes our sorrel. That's going to add a nice lemony zing to the mix. Tear that up roughly. I mean, you could dice this up nice and fine if you wanted it to be like that, but I kind of figure that given that this is sort of all a bit rough and ready anyway, it doesn't really matter too much. I will use that in a second, don't worry. In go my garlic buds. They'll go in completely whole. Right, now the big stuff. So I don't really want to put the stems in of the, you can put the stems in, but there's enough stem action in there already. So I'm just going to roughly rip the leaves off the stem there of the jack by the hedge. The nettles, you'll see I've put them in my special nettle bag here. I'm going to leave those tops nice and whole. It looks like a lot, but obviously anyone who has ever cooked before will know that you chuck something into a pan and it soon quickly wilts down. So other than the pearl barley, everything else should wilt away. Right, horsetail, I'm just going to put the caps in. I think we're probably nearly at capacity. So those lovely tips there, I'm not going to work my way through the stems. The stems of these are hollow. They probably would lend themselves to being stuffed with something if you could take the time with a syringe maybe, but I'm not going to bother doing that, so that can all go there. A little bit of dock leaf for, you know, because we picked it. In that goes like that. I'm going to roughly slice an onion. Right, now the fun fiddly bit. Here we have an upside down tub, a muslin cloth. It's nice and simple. You just get the Bistort from your carrier bag. Nice big lumps of it like that. You can just see there. There's quite a few stems in there, but they should cook down nicely enough. And just get it all spread out and nice. And there we go. That's our big mix. It does look whopping at the moment, and it is quite a large portion, I'll give you that, but oh gosh, we're spilling everywhere. Don't worry, there's a little trick to do at the end that is going to save all this. Obviously a big mixing bowl would have really helped, but you know what? I had to carry it, so I didn't think it was worth it. Right, on goes our seasoning. So here we have Alexander seed. It's like a Szechuan pepper. It's got that lovely aromatic, obviously pepper is fairly bitter anyway, but on it goes. It's a really lovely thing to have in the spice cupboard, and it's free. It grows in this country. Mix that up a little bit, and there's our salt. Good portion of salt. I'd say maybe a teaspoonful or two. Right, now this is the bit that's going to take a little bit of mastery on old Jimmy's part here. Just get rid of the bit of forest floor detritus there. Right, so give that a nice, hey, try not to throw it everywhere. Give that a nice old mix up. In particular, we want the seasoning to do its thing, but the seasoning will run out into the water, as will some of the flavour, but the seasoning, you know, salt in particular, which is very soluble. If you don't happen to have a muslin cloth, you could also use a tea towel. I have muslin cloths just because of jam making and other bits and bobs, but if you've got small children, you'll know that you have muslins lying around the house all the time. It's the same material. It's lovely soft material, but it's got big gaps in it, so it's ideal for steaming things and cooking things like this. So that is now a nice tight ball. I'm just going to twist that slightly. I want it to expand inside. And here we have cooking twine or cooking string. So I'm going to do a bit of, probably got quite a lot there, but I can cut some off. So you're just going to make a little parcel. So maybe wrapping it around that top bit there. Doesn't matter how you tie this. I mean, it's essentially all stays in. But a little bit of tying like this. Keep it nice and neat. So there you go, that's our Easter ledge pudding. Whew. Look at that. So, got our pudding, and very simple, plop it in the water. Now, that's obviously going to need a little bit of time to cook. It's very difficult to say on a campfire how long it will take, but I'm going to give it exactly an hour, and that will allow it to, the pearl barley to expand and get soft, and it will also allow the vegetables to do the same. Well, lunch is on, simmering away nicely, and got 45 minutes to kill. So seeing as we're up by a mountain tarn, it really does feel like there's only one thing to be done. So off we go. Whew. Little bit nippy, it was frosty last night, but that was great. So I thought it was probably worth just mentioning where Easter ledge pudding comes from. It's got a number of names: dock pudding, Bistort pudding, Easter pudding. I mean, they all essentially mean the same thing. Some people have different recipes for it. There are regional differences. Apparently there are family differences, so people have their own family recipes. But essentially it's the same thing. It's originates in the northwest by all accounts, but even if it doesn't originate there, it's certainly where it's been most popular historically. During the Second World War, apparently it was a staple of Cumbrian and Lancashire families, particularly when, you know, rationing and food supply was quite low. When you've got access to Bistort, which grows everywhere, or dock or other greens, it's a very good way of getting your 5 a day, I guess. In terms of what you can put in it, I've used pearl barley today, but you could easily use porridge oats. I guess you could do it with in the same way you would use steamed rice, something along those lines. So you can see, really, all you need is a load of boiling water and something to wrap whatever your little parcel is. Wrap it all up in there. A lot of the recipes that I do are sort of by eye. essentially just making decisions there and then in the kitchen. If I like the smell of something, you know, I'll add a bit more. If I don't like the look of something, I'll change it or tweak it in a way. And the same goes with this. The way I've done this today is very simple, but you could easily take out those boiled oats. I have got a frying pan facility on here, but I haven't. I'm not going to do that today. And you could make a little patty out of it, I guess, like a burger, again, like a black pudding, and cook it on either side. You know, some people serve it with egg either mixed into it or poached egg and put on top, or fried egg, I guess, on top as well. If you're a meat eater, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't have it with a bit of bacon. I guess lardons in the mix, you know, as long as you've cooked them so they get that lovely cooked bacony flavour, that would be a good thing in there. Okay guys, well I hope you've enjoyed the video today. It's been quite an adventure. It's been nice to be out in the sun. If you did enjoy the video, I've got plenty more of these lined up, but the more subscribers and likes I get on the video, the more it will encourage me to get out there and do it. I'd be interested to hear in the comments section below if there's any particular wild food you'd like me to focus on. I was planning on doing a bit of a short series of other videos that I won't bore you with now. So yeah, the more subscribers, the more likely that sort of thing is to go ahead. If you want to get your hands on some foraged ingredients, much like the ones I've used today, head over to our website, foragebox.co.uk, and you can either buy individual forage products, both fresh and preserved, or you can sign up to our monthly subscription service. And if you've watched this far into the video and you've listened to me waffle on and you've been envious or desperate to get out there and do this sort of thing for yourself, or indeed you want to subscribe and you're after a discount code, if you head out, I'll put a little thing in the video here somewhere on this screen now, and if you use the code ForageBox50, you'll get 50% off your first month's subscription, and you can pause or cancel your subscription at any point. So even if you just tried it once with that 50% discount. Finally, it just leaves me to say that I will obviously leave no trace. I'll make sure the fire is completely out. It's very important that the fire is out and there's no chance of any underground fires from the peat or the roots, and similarly there'll be no sign that this fire was here. Ooh, look at that. Ow, ow, ow. Oh yes. Just look at that. Absolutely fantastic. There you have it. Like it never happened.